And alongside General George Washington, Hewes became one of the greatest military achievers in all of American history.
Joseph Hewes.
Joseph Hewes.
Joseph Hewes.
On January 23, 1730, Mr. Hewes was born in Princeton, New Jersey, to parents who were members of the Society of Friends, commonly known as the Quakers. Joseph attended Princeton and became an apprentice of a merchant. After finishing his apprenticeship, he opened his own shop and became very successful and built a great reputation for himself. Hewes moved to North Carolina at the age of 30 and won over the people of the colony with his charm and honorable businesslike character. Well, within a few years, his hard work and dedication to the colonies paid off, and he earned himself a decent fortune. Just 3 years after he moved to North Carolina, the people of the colony demonstrated their appreciation of his character by electing him to the legislature to represent them in 1763. And since he exceeded in that role, they re-elected him for several consecutive years. Although he was a merchant and had been doing business with England for more than 20 years, he cheerfully helped in forming a plan where there would be no business happening between them anymore. And in 1776, he signed the Declaration of Independence at the age of 46. And since he had extensive experience in managing his trade ships, he was appointed as the Secretary of the Naval Affairs Committee because the young nation had virtually no pre-established naval forces. Hewes gave his extensive fleet of ships to the service of the Continental Armed Forces, since they weren't going to be making the regular trade ship runs anyway. Well, Joseph Hewes devoted his life to building what would become today's United States Navy. John Adams even said that Mr. Hewes laid the foundation and the cornerstone of the American Navy. Having provided the ships for the Navy, Hewes was now tasked with choosing the most capable men to command his fleet. Mr. Hewes appointed the naval hero John Paul Jones to captain the Navy's first commissioned ship. He would go on to be the seventh and the final person to be awarded the Continental Congress Gold Medal, standing as a testament to Mr. Hughes's judgment of character. Mr. Hewes worked tirelessly at his military command, often working 12 to 14-hour days, frequently without eating, until his health began to decline. And since his health was naturally weak, he couldn't support a lifestyle like that, and he had to give up his seat on the 29th of October of 1779, just 4 years after accepting it. Being too unwell to travel, he remained in Philadelphia and died less than 2 weeks after he had left his seat in Congress. Many people believed he literally worked himself to death in the cause of his country. He was a true patriot. Joseph Hewes was the second signer of the Declaration of Independence to die, just 3.5 years after signing the Declaration. Charles Goodrich writes of Mr. Hewes, "Although the events in the life of Mr. Hewes which we have been able to collect are few, they perhaps are sufficient to speak of his worth as a man of integrity and firmness and ardent patriotism. To this may be added that in his personal appearance he was prepossessing and characterized in respect to his disposition for his great benevolence, and in respect to his manners for great amenity. He left a large fortune, but no children to inherit it." Though Mr. Hewes was never married, he was engaged at one point, but his fiancée died just a few days before the wedding. Mr. Hewes wrote in his diary that he had never intended to remain a bachelor. He had just never found another partner. But though he didn't leave any family to mourn his passing, his colleagues in the Continental Congress voted to wear a black crepe around their left arm as a sign of mourning for the next month. And on his gravestone, it states that he was one of the best, most agreeable men in the world. which seems pretty obvious to me. Now, did you know that there are actually words to the song Anchors Aweigh? That's our Navy's national march. And if you click below, you can get to read those words. The end.